ratings just came in for last month. We are number one. We just grabbed every key demographic. Super duper. That's nice. Way to go. Neato, yes.
Slow moving.
What?
Inattentive.
What?
Dull.
What?
Shows a lack of motivation.
What?
Constantly snacking.
This is funny because he's fat.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Too much praise creates millennials, a generation of soft, entitled narcissists who drop out of college to become DJs.
That only pays well at the very highest level.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
Ah, a fellow chucker, eh?
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Oh! Get to the chopper!
Vikings rush for Rodgers, looking left, sees nothing. Flushed out to the right. Hit as he throws, dropped by Martellus Bennett. And Anthony Barr smacked Aaron Rodgers, who's down at the 30-yard line. Anthony Barr smacked Aaron Rodgers right as he threw the ball. And Rodgers is writhing in pain on the ground.
Homer, no function beer well without.
Tina, come get some ham.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious...
I am the one who knocks.
Good morning. Oh, go ahead, Emory.
Oh,
you
ahead. Just told me to open us up, brother. What's happening?
I didn't think you heard me.
Oh.
Damn it. It's all right. This is why we are the semi-pro sports radio. This is the North Star Sports podcast, of course, on SoundCloud, iTunes, and iHeartRadio now. Today we're joined by one of my favorite guests of all time. It is Mr. Emory Hunt from footballgameplan.com, and also he does CBS Sports. He's been on everywhere, pretty much every big sports network he's been on, but it's Emory Hunt from footballgameplan.com, and he's going to be talking some Vikings football today. Emory, my boy, what's up?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
You know, we just living the dream here. Vince Wright, the sports governor of Minnesota Sports, is also joining us as well. No Justin Ekstrom today. So just us two, we're going to talk some Minnesota stuff like Vikings, possibly some Gophers, but for sure Vikings. And since Vince is the almighty and all knowledgeable of Minnesota sports, he will lead us in with some questions for you.
Emory, my man, first off, thank you for joining us on the show. This is my first time talking with you, so I'm very interested to hear more about what you do. But, man, I just got to get off it right off the bat here because I always like to talk to new guests. What is your opinion on our quarterback up here? You know, the $84 million guaranteed man. You know, he seems to ebb and flow. To me, he's Kirk Cousins. He is who we thought he was. And, you know, he's a 500 quarterback. Yeah, he can get you some yards. But, you know, sometimes you got to watch the full game. A lot of these yards, you know, with the Redskins and whatnot have come in garbage time situations. And he's kind of padded the stats, in my opinion. Decent quarterback. You know, I watched him at Michigan State. I'm a University of Minnesota guy myself, so I've watched him in the Big Ten. I've seen him play live a couple times there. But I've just never really been sold on him. So what's your opinion on our quarterback?
And I think you laid out my opinions pretty well. I feel exactly the same way you do. It's interesting to see that a guy that has been as mediocre as Cousins get rewarded with the first fully guaranteed contract of that magnitude by another NFL franchise. So I just think that's just bizarre. And I'm not surprised at the season the Vikings are having. I'm surprised that Vikings fans and the Vikings. Here's a guy that, you know, I covered a lot because I covered the Giants a lot. And, you know, the last game I saw him play for the Washington Redskins was a 3-interception game with 3 of the worst picks I've seen. And after that, you heard the media talking about, oh, who's going to get Kirk Cousins, the Kirk Cousins sweepstake. And I'm like, man, we all just watched Kirk Cousins play probably the worst game of the season, and how will a change of scenery change who he is and who he has been since he wrongfully took over for RG3. So I'm not surprised. It's just kind of funny to see it play out exactly how I thought it would.
Right. All right, Matty G, what do you got for your man?
Well, I think that Vikings have been a meh team, and I root for the Vikings. I just don't root for them in the playoffs, and it's about that time for the playoffs. They play against the Detroit Lions, the Motor Kitties. They are a 5.5 point favorites in this one. Do you see any problems where the Detroit Lions can face against the Vikings?
Well, they have some opportunities. It's an NFL team going up against an NFL team, so you know the theory any given Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an opportunity for Detroit to have success. I think the biggest chance for them will have to come on how well they can affect the pocket and get Kirk Cousins to start to see ghosts. That's been his biggest issue. If they can start to do that and really disrupt his timing and take away his first option once that last foot hits the top of his drop, I think they have a chance. Now, offensively, that's the biggest problem for Detroit. I don't know which offensive team will show up. I don't think they truly have an identity, and I think that's an area where the Vikings can definitely exploit.
I think one of the things that the Vikings could obviously do, I mean, they put up a team high 10 sacks on the Lions last time they played them in Minnesota. Now they go to Detroit, and for some weird reason, the past few years, when they play Detroit, when they play Detroit in Detroit, they don't do very well. Why is that? Do you know?
Well, it's just probably just the matchups. A lot of times, matchups change, even if you're playing the opponent again. And it has nothing to do with home or away. I think that is just a myth that people love to hang on when they say in media, oh, so-and-so is playing at home, so-and-so is playing on the road, and that stuff doesn't matter. If you're afraid of pressure at home, be afraid of pressure on the road, be afraid of pressure in the Bahamas or on the moon, it doesn't matter. So I think for this matchup, I think a lot of times the matchups may change, and coaches may tinker with certain things to throw you off that they didn't do the first time, and that's where you see a lot of teams get in trouble. They don't adjust while the other team does. And that's why sometimes you see those disparities in rematch games, so to speak.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I totally agree with that. I've often said, weird things happen when the Vikings play in Detroit. So I just hope, at this point, a win is a win for the Vikings, Emory, and I just hope they can come out of there with it. I mean, I think if they can get past this game, we're hoping the Bears will be resting people by the time we get down to that last game, and somehow the Vikings hold on to that wild card spot. What do you think our chances are to hold on to one of those two wild card spots?
Yeah, I mean, it is a chance, but you have other teams like Philadelphia, like Washington, that still have an opportunity. So in order for the Vikings to eliminate that chance from others, just got to take care of business and continue to win games.
We're talking with Emory Hunt from footballgameplan.com. He's been all over sports networks, like I said, from CBS Sports, done a little play-by-play for ESPN college football. Emory, when you look at the matchup for the running backs, there is some good running backs on both sides of the team. What could happen with these running backs?
Well, in this matchup, you have to side easily with the Vikings. They have the better run game, in my opinion. Detroit, again, I think their issues seem to all stem back to what is their true identity on offense. Are they going to come out and let Matt Stafford, throw the football all over the field, or they're going to try to establish a run game and try to become a running team? And I think they have to find an identity, but we know the Vikings, even if the Vikings don't have a true identity on offense, what we do know is that they do have the best personnel. And at the end of the day, talent wins out. Coaching does matter, but if you have better players, 9 times out of 10, you're going to win. So they have the best backfield, I think, in this matchup, clearly.
Good to hear. Now, here's the thing about the Minnesota Vikings. Last year with such a key opportunity to get to the Super Bowl, Long term, I don't think it's going to happen this year for, obvious reasons, just some better teams in the NFC this year. But let me ask you this about our wide receivers, because it seems like we've kind of put an emphasis back on the run the past couple weeks. Diggs and Thielen, while having some nice catches and a touchdown here or there, I think if they can find a way to open up the passing game on Detroit right off the bat, I think we can get this game done early, Matty G, Emory, and put this Detroit team to bed. What do you think about that?
It's all about execution. If a team can come out and execute early, that tends to build confidence, and once you're confident out there playing, then everything else goes according to plan. I think it's all about how, especially in divisional games where you know the opponent so well and the opponent knows you well, it's all about execution, the early execution. If they can do that, then they have a great chance.
With the Lions, kind of like you said, they don't really have an identity. What do you think the future might hold for Matthew Stafford?
Well, that's an interesting question, because he's being paid like Peyton Manning and all the other top quarterbacks that have received that paycheck. I do like him better than Kirk Cousins, and I think he's a tougher quarterback, and I've seen him get better in a way over the course of his career. I think for him, he needs to have that identity, and it seems as though, just like how I criticized the Vikings for signing Kirk Cousins, I truly don't understand why the Lions got rid of Jim Caldwell. All they were doing was finishing 9-7 or better and in the playoffs. Now they're a football team without an identity, without a running game. Quarterback looks like a shell of himself. And the defense that was supposed to be the hallmark of Matt Patricia has been playing inconsistent. So I kind of wonder, I'm not surprised, but I am surprised because they went away from what was working and what was consistent and what was looked to be building in the right direction. And now you've kind of blown everything up for the sake of blowing everything up because you want to follow the trend and do something and make a change for the sake of change. And I just think that is really hurting Detroit this year.
I think go ahead.
No, go ahead, Matt.
I think one of the things that Detroit might do, they might dump Stafford because he's not playing himself. I think they're going to implode this whole team again because that's what Detroit does. They just start from scratch and let's just start over because that's what we do best.
Which would be terrible because again, Matt Stafford is a guy that has had a lot of success in this league, and we've seen him have success before. And the sad part is when you look at Stafford under Jim Caldwell and knowing that, okay, at least all else fails, they have their passing game and that they can rely on, and then they trade away Golden Tate, and it's like things have just gone downhill for this organization when they seem to have finally stabilized their organization after, swimming in mediocrity for so long. But that's what happens when you lose a coach like Jim Caldwell, who kind of, as much as he was the butt of all memes and stuff like that because of his expressionless emotions on the sideline, this is what he had. He had the ability to stabilize a football team. You didn't see Detroit get too high, too low. They kind of stayed consistent throughout, and they were in those ball games. So I just think that for Stafford, he still is a good quarterback in my opinion. His numbers are going to be his numbers. It's just now without a running game and without any identity, they're just going to struggle.
Well, you kind of hit on my question, Matt. I mean, that was the thing. Well, because I've often wondered this the past couple years with Detroit. You have a fairly decent quarterback, ups and downs, but as far as QBs in this particular league, he's an okay quarterback, but just has never really seemed to have. Well, at times, he had Megatron. And then he retires. They bring in Golden Tate. That didn't work out. No real running backs of significance. And on the defensive side of the ball, Detroit kind of ebbs and flows as well. So, great fans in Detroit. A lot of good Lions fans there who honestly deserve better. But I just don't. I don't know if Stafford's going to be around in the next incarnation here in the next year or two. And I think, hey, if you can get some ample talent in and, maybe put them on the trading block. I don't know. What do you think?
Nothing would shock me in this day and age of the NFL. I mean,
right.
I know people say quarterback wins are not a stat, but they always say that when it's a quarterback they like that seems to be on the losing end of a game. And if we're being completely honest, Matt Stafford right now is, 65-74 as a starter. So you can kind of understand if people want to move on from him. Now, 2 years ago, he had 8 fourth-quarter comebacks, 8 game-winning drives, and Detroit was in the playoffs. They lost that wild card, I believe, to Seattle. But, I think over the course of the last 5 to 6 years, he has gotten better and has found that level of consistency, because early on in his career, we used to wonder whether or not he was injury-prone. So I just think that when you look at Detroit, finding an identity, finding a running game that they can depend on, and just continuing to add talent on offense, and that should help stabilize that side of the ball. But if the shocker has been their defense under Matt Patricia, just hasn't been what we expected it to be, and that right there is the biggest concern moving forward.
It feels like the Detroit fan base is losing its faith in itself. I'm kind of getting nervous that Detroit might just lose his team because all they do is lose, especially in these type of moments when they get rid of like their best players.
Well, I don't think that's one of those landmark places where the NFL they dipped their toe in that water before when they let the Browns leave. I don't think they'll let Detroit leave, but they do have to find a way to win a playoff game, and they haven't won one since '91. So that's unbelievable to even think about. I remember that game vividly. They lost in the conference championship game. So I think that's something that, you go from one game away from the Super Bowl with Detroit. I think they lost to Dallas that year, and to never win a game in the playoffs again, that's dating back, almost 30 years, I believe, or 20 years, something like that. So, yeah, they have to find a way to get not only into the playoffs, but become consistent again. Because in the 90s, they were a team that made the playoffs a lot. Now it has become sparse. Sparingly, they've made the playoffs, 3 times since 2011. So that right there is just, and, growing up in New Orleans, I've seen a team have a stretch like this where they make the playoffs for like 4 straight years, but don't win a game, and then they go years without even sniffing the playoffs or a winning season. And now you start to see the Saints, and you expect them to not just have a winning season, but to go to the Super Bowl. And so I know it can happen. They just have to get the right pieces in place to make sure it does happen on a consistent basis.
Hey, Emory, I got a quick question for you. I also do a separate sports show as well, and I had a guest on this past Tuesday on my show, and I asked him this question. In your opinion, is Mike Zimmer on the hot seat? Let's say the Vikings don't make the playoffs this year. Now, he's not going to get fired this year, but let's say the Vikings open up next year very, very mediocre. When does it come back to our head coach and, we got the new offensive coordinator and all this? When is Mike on the hot seat up here?
That's interesting because he has been, I think, exactly what they needed. He's kind of been just like Leslie Frazier to me, but it seems like just like Leslie Frazier, they really haven't been able to figure out the offense. The defense has never been the issue, in my opinion, in Minnesota. And that seems like a traditional thing. It's always been, what can we do to help figure out the offense? And I think they messed it up last year. They had the perfect situation. You had Delvin Cook coming back from injury. You had 2 good receivers, good tight ends. You had a really good draft offensively. And you had a perfect, ideal situation where you had 3 quarterbacks on your roster, and Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater being the best one out of the 3, and being the franchise quarterback that you had the luxury of nursing back to health without having to overpay him, because you want to see how healthy he would have been coming off the knee injury. But the Vikings took that pat hand and went ahead and blew it all up, got rid of all 3 quarterbacks, and brought in one that's a mediocre quarterback at best. So I don't think that falls a lot on Zimmer, because you talk to people around Zimmer that's there now and was there before. They love Teddy Bridgewater, and they didn't understand why he was going. So I think you have to start to look at the GM, Rick Spielman. But the funny part is Spielman is another guy that has, if we're being honest, he's drafted well and brought in free agents really well, undrafted free agents. So the Vikings aren't devoid of talent. It's just that they gambled and ended up missing on the quarterback in Cousins. They had the right guy in Bridgewater that had them a missed field goal away from going to the divisional round. And then going into 2016 where he got injured, that was the year that everyone thought the Vikings were legit Super Bowl contenders. And he gets hurt on a freak injury before the season starts. So it tells you right there that this dude is legit and we're building in the right direction. And we don't see that with, we didn't see that with Bridgewater, the same thing that we're seeing with how the Eagles are placating Carson Wentz and trying to nurse him back, sit him down because he may have an injury, want to protect the long-term investment, when Bridgewater is a better quarterback than Wentz is, and the Vikings really discarded him pretty quickly. So Vikings lost the Saints game, but I do believe it's a lot has to be looked at when you're talking about Zimmer in conjunction with Rick Spielman.
That was a very good question, Vince. Very good question. I like that one.
Sir, thank you.
And we're talking with Emory Hunt from FootballGamePlan.com. Bitter that the Vikings picked up Kirk Cousins. Just bitter. Who do you like more? Do you like? Well, I'm pretty much going to answer my own question. Case Keenum, or do you like Kirk Cousins overall?
I like Case Keenum, even though Kirk Cousins may do things better, throw things better, and but I just like the way Keenum plays, and I just like the way he played last year. So I think in that regard, that makes him a better player. Although Kirk Cousins may have better physical traits, but Keenum just plays the game better, and then played it better at Houston, just opposed to Cousins playing at Michigan State. So sometimes the better player is just the better player, and doesn't have to do anything to do with like physical attributes.
All right, Vince, that's all the questions I have.
I'm good, man. I want to thank Emory for coming through, and I'll be in touch to get you on my show, man. A lot of good information.
Appreciate that, guys. Thank you for having me on.
All right, thanks, bud. Let's take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk some Gophers. The Minnesota Wild, I believe they're free falling. They're basically free falling from the world and the earth and the universe. Don't know what's going on. We're trying to figure that out. Like I said, Gophers looking really good right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that. You are listening to North Star Sports Podcast.
You're listening to North Star Sports Podcast. Make sure and like us on Facebook. More after this.
Are you still stuck on 4G? Wiz Wireless is the only network offering incredible 9G technology. Yes, that's the 9th generation, featuring the new drone. It's significantly better than the iFruit phone. How do we know that? Because we blatantly ripped off their design and improved a couple of irrelevant features. 9G. Discover your future. You can't be the best if you aren't doing 8 things at once on a tiny screen. The drone from Wiz Wireless. Together, we're making your life 9 times better. That's the promise of the 9th generation.
Crudely painted, not so funny plywood cutout folk art. Crudely painted, not so funny plywood cutout folk art. Crudely painted, not so funny plywood cutout folk art. Hi, I'm Al Harrington of Al Harrington's wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man warehouse and emporium. As an unwanted result of a recent lawsuit, I am now in possession of hundreds of pallets of crudely painted, not so funny plywood cutout folk art, and it's just waiting to transform your uncut trash-strewn lawn into a living canvas that tells passersby, "Hey everyone, a real funny bugger lives here." Your neighbors will chuckle warmly, and motorists will slow down and applaud when they cast their eyes on such favorites as sort of Ben & Jerry's looking cow, black silhouetted cowboy leaning on barn, and everybody's favorite, fat woman bending over tending to her garden in big polka-dotted bloomers. Most of this stuff is priced to move, and until it does, it's an enormous fire hazard, so please come see me on Route 2 in Weekapaug. Look for the sort of Ben & Jerry's cow out front.
Do you remember when the Twins were good for that 1 year?
While Wade Boggs lay unconscious on the barroom tile.
Wondered when that'll happen again. It's the North Star Sports Podcast.
Clean, cool chill of the holiday air. And an asshole in his bathrobe emptying a chemical toilet into my sewer.
Shitter was full!
Ah, yeah. You checked our shitter, Sonny?
This is North Star Sports Podcast. That's how you get a hook, and that's how you hit the post. Joining me, well, you know, like always, Vince Wright, the sports governor of Minnesota. Justin Ekstrom is not here because he wanted to be too cool for us and didn't want to hang out, so whatever.
No, we didn't give him, I guess, the specific time, and he was going to have to kind of jet back home and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So he just gave us permission to do the show without him, which is a bummer because I always like to get Justin's point of view on things.
Well, especially when we have like hockey stuff that I want to get into later, and I also want to play a game too. But so I guess we'll scrap that game. And I totally forgot about a game last week. I don't know what the hell my issue was, and until one of you guys brought it up, I was like, "Oh fuck, totally forgot about that."
Too busy talking sports, bro.
Too busy. It's too busy. It's too busy. If you just missed it, of course, this isn't a live show, but if you like randomly scrolled and like, oh, I was listening to this part of the show, you missed Emory Hunt from footballgameplan.com. He's one of the smartest guys that you'll ever meet in all of football.
That was a very cool interview. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Very good interview. A lot of good info. He definitely knows his football, man. I'm glad that you brought him on.
Yeah, I'm happy that I found him many years ago. So it was a very quick intro that I did, too. Normally I have a little spiel, but I know he was waiting. I know he had some other stuff going on, so I was like, just hurp and run through this real quickly.
Right.
And of course, in the beginning, when I said, like, I texted you and said, like, here, I'll just open it. And then, like, the song played for a little bit, and I was like, is he going to go? Is he going to go? Is he going to go? All right, then we both went at the same time. And I was like, shit. But whatever, it's fine. But next time, Vince is gonna lead us. He's gonna lead us from now on. He's gonna take it to the promised land.
That's
he's an elite-minded person. His voice is sexy enough. That's why we call him Mr. That's why we call him Mr. Smooth.
The Big Smooth. What up to all the ladies out there?
The Big Smooth. So we can talk some Golden Gophers football.
Yeah, we definitely got to talk about them. That game is the day after Christmas, and
it's coming up.
Yeah, and quite honestly, man, it's a good matchup. Georgia Tech is they're 7-6. It has been a very slow go for the Ramblin' Wreck in recent years in college football. You know, they're always the little brother in the state of Georgia to the big boys down at Athens, the Georgia Bulldogs. And quite honestly, they have Georgia State in Atlanta now, which took over the old Turner Field.
Okay.
Now they have another Division I team. And Georgia State, ironically, here's your fun fact of the day, people. Georgia State's actually the largest university in Georgia.
What?
So, yeah. Did not know that.
I did not know that.
So right outside of downtown there. So, right literally across town now, you have another Division I program that's amping up and building, and for them to very slowly now start to turn it around. They have a new coach coming in after their old coach is leaving the campus after 40 years of coaching and other things there. They're going to be very motivated, and they run that kind of triple option that you see from the military academies and a few, old run and a cloud of dust type of teams there. And let me tell you something, Gopher fans. If the Gopher defense cannot get a handle on this right off the bat, this type of offense can make for a very, very long day for defenses. So it is imperative that our
That
defensive
is
coordinator
correct.
has a solid game plan to stop that attack.
I hope so. Our defense coordinator, I believe, is he still interim head coach or interim defense coordinator, or is he actually our defense coordinator?
I think he is now. He better be. I mean, after what he's done here.
I mean, I figured he would be too, but I just want to make sure that we're not saying stuff that's not true yet. I mean, because it's a podcast.
Right. So, but regardless, we got to have a good defensive plan here, and I think this is a game that we're really going to have to utilize Tyler Johnson as well. I think what he, all conference wide receiver. And if the Gophers can find a way to get him incorporated, get him the ball early, especially on that slant route where he just really seems to have speed and separation after he catches the ball. I hope the Gophers can get this win, man. I think it would be very important for the program to, kind of keep things ebbing in the right direction, especially after the tremendous high of beating Wisconsin and bringing that axe back home. So the Gophers are in a real good spot here. They got another, at least on paper, another top 30 recruiting class coming in here, according to ESPN and some other sites. So this is a big opportunity for Gopher football to really keep this train going in the right direction.
Right now, they are nationally ranked this year, 2019, or this coming year, 2019. They're nationally ranked 37th. Do you want to know what they were last year? If you're not cheating and looking, last year they were 38th nationally. So, they're improving. I mean, they're improving really well. Next year, they are going to be 29th in the nation.
Okay.
So there's a lot of intent. There's a lot of 21 letters have been signed already. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I'll go through some of the bigger ones. Rashad Cherney, defensive tackle from Georgia. I think it's Tyler Nubin. Is that how you pronounce it? As a corner from Illinois. Keaton Shad is another defensive tackle. By the way, all these are Cherney is a 4-star athlete. Otherwise, Nubin and Shad are 3-star. And then we go down to our quarterback that we picked up. Highly regarded quarterback, Jacob Clark from Texas. He's a pro-style quarterback. He's a 3-star athlete. And then we have some other great players as well, too, if you go down the list of some players. And a lot of them are from, like you kind of figured, from Georgia and Texas and stuff, and some Florida area. But otherwise, trying to find some. There we go, a Minnesota person. Jason Williams, right here from. I can't even talk today. He's 6'2", 210. He's just an all-around athlete. He's an athlete player, so it's nice to see. And then we have a Logan Richter from Perman. He'll be an offensive guard. He's a 3-star. Then we have Eden Prairie, Cole Kramer. He's a dual athlete, the 3-star as well. Who else do we have? That's a top quarterback or a top person. Oh, then a hard commit is Kristen Williams from Memphis, Tennessee. He's a defensive tackle who did commit on the 14th of December, which was a few days ago. So, we have a very good class that's coming in, and I'm really pumped for this.
Well, that's the thing. We got some good 3-stars. You got a few promising, at least on paper, 4-stars in there, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And like I said, if they can just get this victory, and it just keeps the momentum going. The athletic department on campus is hopefully retooling some things here. For the spectators next year, and make it a little bit better environment to come down and check out the Gophers. And if they can, I'm just telling you, Matty G, if they can get this win over Georgia State, can really just keep that momentum going, man. And then some of these guys are going to be getting better, and hopefully next year we start seeing how it ebbs together.
I hope so, because my goodness, we need help. I mean, it's not that we need help. We just need people who are experienced, and that's what happened with us last year. It showed, especially on defense. It showed that we had no defensive help at all. And I'm happy that we're going to get some defensive help coming in, people are going to be more, much needed help, and people are going to be more knowledgeable, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oops, sorry about that. I had the mute button on there as I had the cough. But no, I totally agree with you, Matty G. I'm very excited for this game. I know it's, the Quick Lane Bowl. I know it's Detroit. It's not a place you want to be the day after Christmas. I get all of that. Except for the players, when you're in the bowl game, the players get a lot of nice swag. They don't get paid, so this is an opportunity for them to get some nice stuff. And, I'm all down for that. But this is why I want the Gopher fans to really watch this game. And for people the day after, if you're looking for a game, check out this game, because if the Gophers can get past a very unique style of offense here, and if they can stop this offense, I think it bodes very well for the future. It shows me that Rossi is actually very good, because like I said, this is a unique type of offense that they're coming up against, and if they can come in here and shut this triple option type of offense down, man, that's great. And I think we just get better. And also, don't underestimate just getting more confident. Confidence when you're a football player going into next year, when these kids start believing, hey, we, for all intents and purposes, shut out Wisconsin in Madison last year.
Yep.
We had some good, games last year. Really should have did much better in that Nebraska game I was at too, by the way, but I digress from that. But, it's just being confident and learning and just building on everything and getting better is going to make it good for next year and then the years after that, because next year we got to see marked improvement, and the year after that is really the year we're hoping that this really comes together and the Gophers really make some noise in the Big Ten West.
I think if we do really well next year, I mean, let's just not beat the normal 3-4 teams right out of the gate. Let's go out and let's just take care of like Purdue on a normal basis. Let's take care of like Iowa, which I love to take care of Iowa every single year.
And
Matty, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, bud. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
If we take care of Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Purdue every single year, we're going to be just fine. And we'll have great victory and great moral victory, and it will help us pursue a better spot for us to get better athletes.
No, I totally agree. And what it's going to do also is hopefully start turning around the local fan base. As I often say, on this show, on my show, we are in a sports marketplace that has every single major sport now. I mean, we got soccer, we got the Wild, on and on and on it goes. Plus, now you have a Division I sports program in town. So your sports viewing dollar is at a premium. And people are going to be front runners for the most part, unless you're over there at the Minnesota Wild, where those fans will, hockey fans are going to show up, whether you suck or not, apparently. And that's no disrespect to hockey fans. That's fine, and it's actually quite admirable that they can fill up that that arena, whether that team's good, bad, or indifferent. But for the Gophers, people are going to have to see it on the field. And they're also going to have to basically just go mea culpa with the students and say, look, guys, give them the damn tickets. I mean, give them a free ticket, a free season ticket, but implore them, look, we need you here at least until the fourth quarter. I mean, I get it. Sometimes there's going to be blowouts. You're college kids. You want to go party. You want to go do this, do that, whatever. But we need you in here. And part of that is doing it on the field. So as they say, winning cures all. And if the Gophers can start winning and then beat some teams you're not supposed to do, like Glenn Mason started doing when he was here. Remember, we finally got over the hump at Ohio State. We finally went out to Penn State and got that victory. We finally brought the jug home.
That took a long time.
Exactly. So if you got to start winning a game or two that you're not supposed to win. Yeah. That's going to be the key to turning it. Gophers go and knock off an Ohio State, a Penn State against something like that. That's what's going to get the people going.
I got to see what their schedule is for next year, and I'm sure it's out.
What? Here, give me a second here. I'll pull it up.
Okay, we'll talk amongst myself, since you'll be doing that. Well, Justin's not here, so I got to talk to myself anyways. Hey, how about this? Make sure to like us on Facebook. That is North Star Sports Podcast. We're the only one out there, so don't worry about that. The old days we had Beer Belly Sports. There was like 2 of them out there. So North Star Sports Podcast. Like us, follow us, even on Twitter. That is NSS Podcast. North Star Sports Podcast. We're on both Twitter and Facebook. And we also tweet a lot as well, too. My Twitter handle is @He'sNotThatGood for obvious reasons, because I talk a lot and I'm not very good at a lot of things anyways. But I digress from everything else.
And guess what, folks? Here's Matty G's drop.
Sometimes Geffre can be like, well, you remember that Adam Sandler movie?
Today, Junior!
North Star Sports Podcast.
You are like Adam Sandler, the Adam Sandler of Sports Talk Radio. Okay, here's the Gophers schedule. And you'll like this, the first game. I think you might have to sit in the Govs VIP seats for this one. That's right.
Ooh.
South Dakota State comes to the bank.
Oh, the Jacks.
August 29th. Again, another Thursday night opener to the season here. That seems to be that's kind of how it is for the Gophers now. It causes a little bit of problems because you got the state fair. You actually have people working at the university. So for us tailgaters, we actually have to wait a little bit to get into the tailgate lots. Mm-hmm. After that, we have the Bulldogs. We are on the road, actually, as they were here this past year, the Fresno State Bulldogs. It might be a fun little game. They have a nice little crowd base out there in Fresno. I might actually check that out.
They're ranked too, even though we beat them. I just want to throw that out there.
That was the funny thing, exactly. Kind of going to these surprise wins we had this year against some of the losses we didn't think we were going to have this year. Okay, then we have the following week, September 14th, Georgia State University, or it's not Georgia State, excuse me, Georgia Southern University is coming into town. We open the Big Ten on the road at Purdue on the 28th. Following week, we have Illinois coming to town. Then we have Nebraska coming to town. We are on the road after that at Rutgers. We have the Maryland Terrapins coming to town. Stephon Diggs will be on the sidelines watching his alma mater, I'm sure. I actually got pictures of him the last time Maryland was in town. It was cool to see him out there supporting his squad. Then we have the mighty Penn State Nittany Lions coming to town the week after that. So here we go. See, here's one of these games. Yeah, exactly. You got to get that Liberty Bell. Then we have, we are on the road, University of Iowa. Let's bring back the pig. Then we have another road trip. We are at Northwestern. And then to end the year, as usual, the Wisconsin Badgers.
Wow, that's a good lineup.
I'm looking at overall pretty decent schedule, and if the Gophers, you kind of go through it. You count South Dakota 1-0. Let's say they find a way, they beat Fresno State on the road. That's going to be a tough game now. They're 3-0 by the time they hit Purdue in the Big Ten opener. They have an opportunity to be about 5-0 if they can get past Purdue and the University of Illinois at that point. Then they'll have Nebraska coming into town, and Nebraska is going to be much improved from this past season.
Well, what about? I think the Jacks will be tough because they play really tough. They've been one of the better teams of the FCS for a long time.
I'm not writing them off, brother. Trust me.
What it sound like?
No, but come on, man.
I'm gonna be.
The Gov is not writing it off, but I mean, honestly, obviously, should be a win. I think it's safe to say that. I hope so anyway. But the Gophers are poised to be in a good spot here because now, again, on the backside, it's those last 4 weeks where, you got Penn State, Iowa, Northwestern, and Wisconsin.
Yeah, all tough games.
Yep. And, so I'm excited, man. I'm excited to watch the Cornhuskers come up here after being down there, and see what Scott Frost has in mind for them. I think, like I said, they're going to be much improved. It'd be interesting to see if Illinois can really get off the snide with Lovey down there, or if they're just going to continue to kind of be an afterthought, even though, of course, we lose to Illinois. But
there's that too.
There's that. And then Maryland. Maryland just smacked us around this year, and hopefully the Gophers are really going to want to put it on them after going out to Maryland and giving up not only all those points, it was all those points. They were not, the whole game, Maryland was not in the red zone and put up 42 points?
I stopped listening after the first half. I was like, this is done.
Yeah.
I was done with it.
But yeah, very excited for our Gophs, man.
That was the same team that what's his face? He got hurt again against that same team. We lost him all year.
Winfield Jr.
Winfield, yeah. We lost him, and I've not heard any news. Is he officially coming back?
Well,
next year?
I think he is, and that's a key point to bring up, because if we can get he's the best player on the team. So I mean, if we get him healthy back, we saw in a very short time, span what he can do. That interception that saved the game for us. The way he hits people, the way he reads receivers and defenses, and that's the thing. If the Gophers can get a solid defensive backfield, because the one thing I noticed this year, Matty G, when people get behind our backs, our backs weren't catching them. Our defensive backs, they were slow. Yep. I mean, I had never, and especially that Nebraska game, that's where I really noticed it. So, if you can get the anchor back in there, and then just better, they get better in general. If the defensive backs can really get solid for the University of Minnesota, man, it could be a very, very good year for our squad next year.
I think so too. I think we'll do, like I said, we have a pretty big draft class this year, highly regarded. So I'm not too worried about it. But I really think that we're going to do pretty damn well this year. So, next year as well too. So, I don't know. We just got to have faith. Just got to have faith in our, and I know I do, and I hope you do as well.
I do, sir.
I really like the song, by the way. When it breaks down to the drum solo or the bass solo,
yes,
just a banger. I do like Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, love Fleetwood Mac, man. Rumors, top 10 on the Govs all time.
Really?
Oh, dude,
nice.
I grew up in the, I'm a child of the 70s, 80s, and my parents loved Fleetwood Mac, and my mom would put on some Fleetwood Mac, back on the Saturdays as she was cleaning up around the crib and stuff. And that's where I got it from. And here's the thing: Stevie Nicks is one of the best voices I've ever heard. And as a kid growing up, trust me, she can take from me my lace anytime.
Yeah, true. My dad still has all his old vinyl.
Oh, and wow, nice.
I remember seeing Fleetwood Mac, Boston, Seeger, John Mellencamp, all these guys still on vinyl.
Yeah, and it's funny, I bought my daughter a record player last Christmas, actually.
Yeah.
So I broke out the few pieces of vinyl that I could find. I think I still got some hidden in my parents' attic, but for the first time in literally 35 years, listened to my Purple Rain album.
Jeez, how that sound?
It sounded actually pretty good. It's always nice to hear that little kind of crinkle and scratch when you put the needle down. But it sounded pretty good, and it was just good to hear. And record players now, they're all hooked up Bluetooth wise, so you can just send it right to a nice speaker and stuff. And
True.
It's phenomenal.
True. All right, when we come back, we'll talk some Wild. We'll maybe get some Timberwolves. We'll see what time we have left. We'll try to get. We also have Christmas stories as well too, so don't forget about that. We'll be back a little bit. You're listening to the North Star Sports Podcast.
This is the all-new North Star Sports Podcast. Okay, kind of the same half-ass show like always, just more after this.
Howdy, Welcome to Farewell Ranch. They say the golden years are the best years of your life, but for many seniors, they just stink up the house and make the grandkids feel uncomfortable with unwanted affection. Now, your old people can be earning you money and enjoying the final years of Farewell Ranch. It's a working farm, cattle ranch, and crematorium where the cowboys are all over 75. They'll enjoy rodeos, working in the fields, and tending all the final resting places of their new friends on Sunshine Hill. Farewell Ranch works your loved ones from sun up to sundown, and when your loved ones passes away, we'll send you a presentation package VHS with the spurs and boots they were wearing as they went on to a better world. Our residents sure love it here, right, Norm?
Is this WW2?
Farewell Ranch, the only way to ride into the sunset.
Like us on Facebook, North Star Sports Podcast. From Golden Gophers to Timberwolves to the Wild and the Twins, and the Vikings sometimes. It's the North Star Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to North Star Sports Podcast. Only on SoundCloud, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Vince Wright joining me as well. I'm at Geffre. Make sure to like our show on Twitter and Facebook as well too. That's North Star Sports Podcast. Lindsey Buckingham with Holiday Road. It is kind of a holiday with Christmas season here, and I don't know. We just got done doing Fleetwood Mac. Now we do a Lindsey Buckingham. You might as well get the rest of the crew in this as well too. So we'll figure it out some way or another. But
yes, we will.
But Vince, let's talk about the sad Minnesota Wild. They're just falling apart.
Yeah, all of a sudden. I mean, another loss last night, and all of a sudden these guys are tanking. Now, a loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins is no reason to hang your head by any means here.
Yep.
But they are on a little bit of a streak now, and all of a sudden, and ironically, I never thought I'd say this, with the 2-win streak of the Blackhawks now, all of a sudden,
stop it.
They got to start looking behind them a little bit, and they kind of had that 8 seed, and a few points of a cushion, but now with these losses, it's back to being up in the air, and I guess it's probably just going to go down to the end of the season with the Minnesota Wild.
I think so too. I mean, I don't know. Every year they do this. They give us hope and then they crush us.
Well, here's the thing, man. Matt Dumba is out now, so that's what really worries me. I mean, just the way he plays. He's one of those guys that just kind of brings it, and some of the guys seem to rally behind when he gets going. The Wild seem to be doing really good, and now that he's going to be out for a while, that's what really worries me, because I really like what Matt brings to the team, and I just respect his game. So I hope they find a way to continue and just get better, kind of the next man up. That's what championship teams do. The next person comes in and fills the role, so we'll see what happens.
I don't see there is no timetable when he's going to be able to come back. He said he's out for a significant amount of time, so that's not good. I don't know what else. There's been a lack of scoring. We go up 1-0 on the Penguins yesterday. Whenever you're listening to this, yesterday we went up against the Penguins 1-0, and then we just 2-1, and it was just done. I just don't understand why. Where is our lack of scoring?
Let me ask you, Matty G. Okay, we got the big two. Parisi and Suter. We know about the contracts. We paid them all the money. We've been a few years in now, and I just want to ask you, because, the Wild are my second favorite team. Everybody knows, I'm a Blackhawks guy, so I kind of play that devil's advocate here role in the show when it comes to hockey. But let me ask you, man, you're a hardcore Wild fan. You're a hockey guy. Do you think the Wild have gotten their return on investment, as we like to say in the business world, on the big two and that contract?
I don't really think they really have. I just think it's been kind of meh, and they haven't really showed me too much, and they haven't really proven to me too well that they can get to that next level. It's always been like, let's get to the playoffs, so let's always be out in the within like the first round, the most time first round.
I had a friend out in New Jersey. He sent me a little gift, and you know what that gift was, Matty G?
What's that?
And this was a few years ago. It was an autographed picture of the Stanley Cup champion, Zach Parise. Remember that guy? Remember that guy who was a stud in New Jersey and won a Stanley Cup?
Yeah, I don't know where he's at anymore.
Well, that's kind of my point, man. And I know he's had some injuries he's dealt with, but him and Suter just, not that they need to be the guys up screaming in other guys' face, but I need to see a little bit more of a heartbeat from these guys. It just seems, when they're being interviewed or whatever, it's just, well, we got to get better and we got to do this and we got to do that. And, real monotone. I want to see somebody kick some ass in that locker room and get these guys going. They're too talented of a team to be trending the way they are right now. And, I'm sure they'll get it going again here, but the past couple weeks have been kind of troublesome if you're a Minnesota Wild fan.
I agree. It's been bad. There's not a lot of life, and like you said, the interviews have kind of been ho hum, and we got to get pucks deep. We got to attack the zone. This normal stuff, and come on, you boys got to do. It's driving me nuts.
And that's the thing, man. I want a picture of Zach Parise in a Wild uniform hoisting the cup. Listen, I'm a Blackhawks fan. Long as my Hawks ain't playing the Wild, I'm pulling for the Wild. I realize what hockey means to our state. Yep, that's right. And I realize what hockey means to the great state of Minnesota. But it is ironic that teams like the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Los Angeles Kings have Stanley Cup trophies.
Even I think Tampa Bay has one too.
And I was just going to mention the Lightning now. So both of the Florida teams, California has Stanley Cups, and not the so-called state of hockey.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
And that's the thing.
It's been a puzzling thing for a long time.
And my hockey friends get after me when I say it, but can you be the state of hockey without a Stanley Cup?
It's hard. It's hard to be. It's hard to be.
I mean, nobody lives hockey like the state of... Or few... There's a couple states. Massachusetts...
Yeah, Massachusetts does pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny. Is my aunt used to live in Amherst. She used to be a dean at UMass. And as a kid, I would go out and visit her in the summers. And, ironically, all of my little friends that I made in Massachusetts, you know what they had to do at 5 a.m? They were all going to hockey practice in the summer at 5 a.m.
Ooh.
And it was just amazing what I was seeing. So when I came back and all my Minnesota hockey fans were kind of being a little snobbery and, they don't play real hockey out east. Kind of like it was for Herb Brooks when he put that amazing team together for the gold medal. Remember, it was the Minnesota kids, and they didn't like the East Coast kids, and Michael Ruzioni and all the, somebody named Ruzioni, he can't play hockey and all this stuff. And, so it was just kind of interesting to see that growing up because, my Minnesota friends would be like, it's almost like their hockey didn't even count.
Yeah,
I totally believe it. And obviously, through college and whatnot, there's been just as many East Coast teams that have won championships and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Hell, there might have been a few more. But it's time, man. Minnesota hockey has got to get back to where it duly deserves to be. We're going to start with the Gophers. The university has to do some things internally to get the fans back there because it is embarrassing to see 2,000 and 3,000 people at these Gopher hockey games.
Yeah, that's not good.
All right.
I mean, you might as well go to a Bemidji State game because that's pretty much how that goes.
Yeah. Okay. So the black guy on the show is done ranting on hockey now.
All right. Well, let's not do sports. It is Christmas basically, and we need to talk some Christmas stories that we have. The one that, do you want me to go first? Or you want to go first?
I'll go first. This is a great way to end our show today. And first off, Merry Christmas to everybody. I appreciate all the support for our show. Merry Christmas, Justin Ekstrom, who will be back with us next go around. Miss Miss the guy who towers over first graders everywhere, as we like to say.
Yep, the 5-foot cube.
Exactly. Merry Christmas to you as well, my friend Matty G.
Thanks.
This has been a lot of fun getting to know you and Justin and doing this show. I'm looking forward to big things and big things in 2019.
Yeah.
But for me, the summer, I think it was the summer of 75. Again, I'm 49, so I'm a bit older than probably a fair share of people listening to this podcast, man. But that was the Christmas. I literally got everything I think I can remember wanting. You know, I had my $6 million Steve Austin action figure, my G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip, as Eddie Murphy used to say back in the day.
Nice.
I mean, just everything I wanted. And, you know, looking back on it as an adult now, I realize what my parents did and how they sacrificed for me. And then later on, my younger sister when she came along. And I just enjoy Christmas, man. I enjoy Charlie Brown Christmas albums, Charlie Brown specials.
Literally what I'm playing right now.
Exactly. And just the time of year, because people still seem to put away the bullshit, treat people a little bit better, and you know, realize that, hey, I may be doing great, but somebody else isn't. And obviously people's charitable donations go up this time of year as well. And for me, it's just a nice time of year. And while I'm sad that for relatives and friends who aren't here this time of year, you know, I really just enjoy being with my family and friends and getting that time off from work and really just catching up with everybody. So that's what Christmas means for your sports governor.
That a boy. My favorite memory is waking up at, I don't know, whatever time we get up. And the one Christmas that I got, we were at my grandparents in South Dakota, and we had stockings and stocking stuffers and stuff, but inside the stocking stuffer, it was fruit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To a kid, that's like, it's like giving them like socks and underwear. It's like, what are you doing? It was oranges and bananas and apples. Wow. I mean, you know, I look at it now, I'd be like, sweet.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. But yeah. That's just my quick story about. I mean, I have tons upon tons of stories, but we know we'll really only get into a whole bunch of stories because as I'm trying to switch over like iPod to phone and iPod back and stuff. So the end of Layla always means that it's the end of the show. And probably the last show of the year for the North Star Sports podcast. No. So what did we learn today, Vince?
We learned that the Gophers have a real unique opportunity to keep a very positive vibe going for themselves. We had great guests on. We learned a lot about the Minnesota Vikings that they do what they need to do. They will get it all. Vikings playoff football still on the horizon as of now.
True. We have Vikings football going to be happening here. You know, possibly wild card, possibly one of the two, or just be done. We'll find out. Hopefully not. I mean, because I don't want to talk more trash than I do already for the Vikings. I get enough crap about that and my Cowboys not winning and putting up 0 points. But I get enough of that crap already.
Right.
So that's fine. So what I learned today is that Emory Hunt is super bitter that the Vikings picked up Kirk Cousins. Super bitter.
Can't blame him. I mean,
I'm in a way I don't blame him, but yeah, he's just super bitter about it, and I think that's really about it. I think that's all I really know.
Well, there you have it, fans.
Yeah. Well, Justin was here to give us more.
Exactly, and we got to get Justin back too. Is we really got to get that Chris Farley impression going in some of these little skits and stuff.
Yeah, we need to. Otherwise, that's about anything. Last final words for you to say for the rest of the year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Spend time with your family and friends. Hold the families close, man. You never know how much time we have on this planet. Life is literally too short, so just enjoy every moment you got, man. Make it a good one.
All right, and for me, I'm pretty much the same. You pretty much said almost every word that I wanted to say. Thank you to the writers, producers, on-site engineer, otherwise known as me. We'll see you back maybe next year. We'll try to see if we can show up before the end of the year happens. All right, everybody, thank you. Have a great Christmas. If not, have a great New Year's as well, too. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
They're really getting desperate.
Desperation's a good sign. Soon they may panic and run away.